Right, they are ready.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's work session. Superintendent?
Hi.
Hi.
All right. I believe we are starting with presentation with the 8 plus. And I'm going to ask Dr. Melton to come up and walk us through this one.
Hello, everyone. I'm Walter Milton. I'm originally from Rochester, New York. It's always good to be back in upstate New York. I live in Dallas, Texas now. So I'm the CEO of two companies. One is From the Heart International Educational Services, and the other is BH365. And we're currently in about 420 school systems across the country. New York City being our largest partner. But I do want to say thank you to the board for allowing me to come here. Thank you to Superintendent Davis for allowing me. And thank you to Dr. Bell. I had a conversation with your superintendent, who's an amazing person, several months ago. And one of the things that I talked to him about, we laughed, we commiserated, we had a joyful conversation because I was a superintendent for 14 years. So we shared a lot of good stories, if you will. But one of the things that he talked about was his vision. It's amazing that his vision and my vision were very similar. And we both asked each other, how can we partner to bring this vision to fruition so that we can make a deep and lasting impact in the lives of young people? And one of the things that he said, and also your deputy superintendent there, how are you? Good to see you. And she was part of the meeting the third time we met, and her vision came along too. And believe it or not, it was crystal clear that there was a possibility for a major national model to be done. And so your superintendent, he talked about having a process in place that can effectively help graduation rate, but also to help those eighth graders that are in an abyss or some semblance of conundrums that they're facing, whether it's social, whether it's academic, whether it's emotional. And so it came up with a title called Eight Plus. Eight Plus. Basically, as we develop academies across the country, one of the things that he said, well, you work with our students for 1 year, prepare them for ninth grade, and that's when the clock starts ticking. Can you help them with some of the challenges that they have, whether it's culturally, whether it's behaviorally, whether it's emotionally, economically, in so many different realms? And then your deputy superintendent, she had another major vision that we're doing in Dallas now, developing boarding schools. So I said, wait a minute, this is a possible match made in heaven. So he said before he can any continue the conversation that it was imperative that we had an opportunity to come to the board and talk to the board about this mission and how can we partner with 100 Black Men of America. So I said, okay. And it's amazing because our company won a major award with the 100 2 years ago. We beat out Henry Louis Gates's research, and they gave our company an award called the National Community and Education Award. And so, believe it or not, some of the people that are on 100 here locally were at that award ceremony in Las Vegas 2 years ago. So I guess serendipity at its best. So here we are. So what I want to do is run through the presentation rather swiftly. And he told me, he said, hey, you got to be like Elizabeth Taylor. You know, she told all eight of her husbands that she wouldn't keep them long. So I said, I'll definitely do that. So at any rate, so it's entitled the 8 Plus Academy, Syracuse City School District, in partnership with From the Heart International Educational Services. And on the From the Heart side, we are we were in collectively about 150 school systems. So we've touched almost 500 school systems across this country here, well over that. So this is me. As you could see, I'm a native of Rochester, New York, very proud graduate of University of Albany. I played football there for 4 years, did a degree at Brockport and a PhD and an EDD from the University of Buffalo. I just want to talk about the work that we've done. So when we talked about this partnership, it was imperative that we begin to look at your data. So we looked at your demographic data, we looked at the graduation data, your um, behavioral data, every aspect. Did a comparative analysis with your district, with the top five of the big five here in New York State, and some other districts that are contiguous to you. And so in this partnership, our goal is to bridge the academic, disciplinary, and social gaps that eighth graders are affected by here in the city of Syracuse. Our team will, of course, make home visits. We will have a strong mentoring um, partnership and to help those students so that when they get in the ninth grade, they have all of the academic, social, and emotional accoutrements that they need to have in place to be highly successful. And our goal is not to only help them graduate, but prepare them for a life that they can compete in the ever-changing process in the world, the global exchange process. And so that's what we're committed to do. We intend to promote self-awareness if given the opportunity for the partnership to come to fruition, have a strong emphasis on reading and math, teaching really good life social skills, and helping them to be whole, complete beings. And we have curricula and many aspects that we can do that. Now, one of the things about our company is that we create and design our own textbooks. So the students who have our textbooks in those 450 school systems across the country, they are flourishing. And many of the districts are large school systems like New York City Public Schools. We have all of Brooklyn schools, all of schools in the Bronx. We're spreading to Manhattan and other parts of the state. We're also, our curriculum is in Rochester. So we're going to put curricula that's alive and that's that's really integrated into the New York State standards and really to help these young people to become productive, purposeful citizens, not only here in Syracuse, but throughout the nation. So we believe that our mission is totally aligned with yours. And I think that this is a very non-traditional, innovative approach that can help business, or excuse me, that can help, the business community, if you will, but also to help the district to become better because we know that there's a direct correlation with student achievement and people wanting to move to the community because it's a safe community, the schools are good, and we believe that we can help carry the load so that educators will have the opportunity and the freedom to really teach and lead instruction in many aspects. So that's the goal. And when these kids get into ninth grade, not only will they just survive, but they will thrive and be ready. So we will provide all of the behavioral supports, provide assistance. We have a curriculum that we put in place called Positive Living, Promoting Your Purpose. And it's really designed to help students to excel in 7 areas of their lives: the cognitive, the linguistic, the emotional, the social, the physical, the character wise, and then we teach them about finance. So we have a strong emphasis on math and science, but we teach them about money. We teach them about investments and understanding what normal profit is to make sure that they have a business sense and they're not thinking just from the construct of being a consumer, but an owner. Then we look at helping them to understand trauma-informed coping techniques. And you have a good curriculum here, and we will pair it or blend ours with yours that you already have. And then a whole lot of holistic development that I just gave you an example to help these students. So we envision that this approach will be not only comprehensive, but it would also aid in the success of providing nurturing, authentic relationships, high expectations, and affirming students so that they can do well academically and also personally. One of the things that we want to do, because you may have some students that are really gifted athletically, so we want to make sure that we have current and former professional athletes that will come in to work and promote and help guide and train those students, whether they have skill sets in, let's say, football or basketball or what have you. And I know that this community is really big in that regard. My cousin was a quarterback for Syracuse University, Donovan McNabb, many years ago. So he came to Syracuse because he had family in Rochester. But one of the things, I had an opportunity while he was here to come to just about every game he played, and I learned a lot about the city of Syracuse. You guys, a good, strong city that has a lot of pride. One of the things that we want to do is help get over the hurdle of reading and math from a social, economic, and institutional factors that really impede many students that you are responsible to educating, and then getting them to understand that not only is the expectation that they will attend college, but they will graduate or they will go on to have some skill set that would give them a forward-moving citizenry as well as a good life. Looking at some of those socioeconomic factors, we know that there's a direct impact that may have on student achievement, but we don't want those barriers to be an excuse or anything that's going to negate those young people from being successful. Also, we want to make sure that they do really well in math and reading. And we have experts on our team that can provide that service so that these students will get all of the instructional supports that they need to really break the strong hold of failing in math and science, particularly. Also, the goal is to really help the middle school students, um, particularly all students, but specifically those students of color, particularly young men, because we know that if we have a strong, robust educational approach, we serve as a catalyst to really help them to get out of the muck and mire that really lead them to their demise. So we want to make sure that we're really powerful and we're committed to that level of excellence. And then making sure that these students, like I said, are prepared for high school in the ninth grade. And so this gap year, we are confident that it will help those students to bridge the various gaps, whether it's academic proficiency and enhance their readiness and address some of their systematic challenges to improve the outcomes and ultimately the graduation rate for Syracuse public school system. So what we wanted to do this year, um, anything that's going to be worth its weight in gold, you have to do the work. So we're committed to having a team here preparing and taking 1 year to plan this with your faculty and staff so that we can have a systematic and a symbiotic process so that everyone is on the same page. Families and communities have bought into this partnership and this relationship. And you guys serving as a school board and the superintendent and his leadership team is really part of that symbiotic process. And we guarantee that you will have nothing less than a great deal of success. So we're here now in the month of September. And according to calendar, we're here tonight, particularly at the board meeting, to really talk about this proposal. And we had to pare it down because we know that with the many slides that we had on there initially, it probably would be overwhelming for one board meeting. So pending the board approval, pending the board's buy-in, we hope that we can move at the secondary and tertiary level to really get the community and the business community and other stakeholders to be intimately involved in this process. And I know that you guys are dealing with some of the challenges in Rochester, and by our work doing there, we're helping to ameliorate some of those things that they're dealing with. One of the things that we want to do is have host 4 parent meetings or overview of the programs in various sectors of the city. We will provide refreshments, food for the evening for parents, and maybe give them gifts, something that will really educate them in this partnership, whether it's T-shirts, whether it's mugs or anything like that, so that they can really buy in and to see that we're very serious about not only helping their children, but in many cases saving the lives of their children and the lives of others. So we want to do this in person. So we have a team that will be stationed here in Syracuse that will work intimately with Syracuse school system. If we have to do something at the rate of speed, we will do it virtually, and then we will plan or put that on the agenda, those items on the agenda when we come face to face. We are a bilingual company, so we have a team of people that are very, very fluent in Spanish and other possible languages, so that they would be part of that process. In December, the goal is to conduct literacy assessments to really measure where your students are, to look at ways in which that we can start to collect our baseline data, and then conduct authentic problem-solving assessments as well. So we have assessment tools that can really see where these kids are in terms of how they look at behavior, and to see if they see that it's a direct correlation with the educational process. In addition to that, to review those students that will be leaving the eighth grade and that we may properly get to work with, and looking at their performance data, analyzing the data to the standpoint of trying to find trends in the data to see what is taking place in the life of that child academically. And then look at creating individual student success profiles with those students that are I don't want to say targeted, but those students that are being requested to be a part of this initiative. And then come back in January and to provide a very, very good update to the school board, an update that's really informational gathering, and to deal with the findings that we had, and also the superintendent, because every step of the way we're looking for his guidance. He's amazing visionary, so we're definitely going to depend on that. And then looking at the financial implications and the impact that would have. And one of the things that we really believe in is making sure that we are very sensitive to the financial position. So we definitely want to maximize efficiencies at every level that's possible. Then
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
So in terms of conducting the literacy assessments, do you use a particular assessment? Like our district already uses NWEA.
Mhm.
Is it possible to perhaps look at the assessments that have been, there's some assessment fatigue in the buildings?
100%. 100%. So we have in our assessment division, or our curriculum division in assessment, we have people that are very well versed in that assessment tool that you mentioned, as well as the I think is the Nagalari. I can never say that right, but the Nagalari, is that it? And to really work with that. But yes, we can use the assessment tool that you guys already have, and work with you symbiotically to put forth the findings of those assessments. Okay, and so then after that, to prepare to begin the interview and the ongoing process of staffing for the 25-26 year school year, pending at this point again, board approval and board buy-in. So February through April, we would host individual parent student success meetings, and talk about the profile and next step as we review the meetings that we have had, as we plan the meetings going forward. And then an in-person options or virtual, probably in person, because I think with many parents, that's where the comfort zone is. And they like to see and touch and feel who they're talking with, and not to hide behind a system. So face to face, and then we will have bilingual approaches there so that parents can feel comfortable. And then host summer 8+ Academy Bridge program openings, so that people can really maybe do walkthrough of the physical space that we have, and then talk to the educational team, and then link students and mentors together. All of the mentors will have gone through a background check. And what we're doing, we are developing a budget for the mentors, because we want to give each mentor a stipend, as they don't have to come out of pocket to build these relationships. So they would have a monthly stipend that they will work with in terms of spending resources on students and their families, and that won't be a burden for them or the schools. And then conduct a student-led parent conferences between June in July. And then hopefully, with the board approval, we can open up fresh start September 2026.
So one of the things I just want to clarify, if I have an opportunity, and thank you, Dr. Melvin, for the presentation, is that we have pockets of students who are not finding success, and we're starting to identify those pockets of students. One of those pockets is our 8th graders that need support because they're going into 9th grade, not being successful, spending multiple years in one grade. So we feel like many of those students are younger, and if we can catch them, give them that gap year, when they hit 9th grade, they'll actually they'll have some credits up front. So they're going to 9th grade ahead of the schedule. And then we can provide supports for the skills that they might be lacking. So if we can identify that group, but it's also a voluntary thing of the fact of parents, which is why we have to spend so much time educating everybody on what it actually is, because we need people to volunteer to do it. It wouldn't be something you force families into, but if they understand it, they'll understand how beneficial it could be.
Like they're doing 5 years of high school.
Yes, kind of. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
The clock doesn't start until they hit. You put them in the 9th grade.
okay.
Then you got 4 years from there.
So this would be targeted to children. You're looking at a 2025 fall start.
Yes, possible.
So
We just want to this year. We just want to make sure we have
25 or
all the
26?
facts.
25. I said 26.
20, the 25, 26
25,
school year.
yeah, 25, 26 school year.
So the cohort that we are talking about is the cohort that is currently in 8th grade that this program would be for next year.
Mhm.
Yes, could be. Yes, we would identify those students. Yes,
Where would they be housed?
all of that is part of the planning year.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So all we're asking for permission to do is pursue the idea.
Okay.
When we come back to you, we'll be looking for approval to implement a program once we have all the information, because we haven't talked about the financial impact or any of that yet. So we're asking for permission to pursue the program and to see if we can put something together that benefits this district. That's what we're asking for. Yes, sir.
It wouldn't be a Lincoln, this would be.
Correct. It'll be a standalone program.
Would the staffing come from Syracuse School District staff or from our?
Syracuse, I'm going to say it this way. We'll talk about all those pieces. My expectation is they're going to be Syracuse City School District employees with a mix of other folks to support, would be the way I would say it. But yes, my guess would be finding the right people to do this work.
What size cohort are you? Is there any idea? Is there?
Yes, I do have an idea.
Well, no, I mean, like, how far?
But again, I don't want to pretend like these answers are the answers,
Right.
because that's what we want to spend the time doing, is working all of this out. But if you ask me, I would almost have the cohort up to 200.
Mhm.
And I will still tell you that wouldn't cover the population that needs it.
Mhm.
But we need for it to be small enough to have the impact.
Superintendent, how many 8th graders do we currently have? What's the total cohort size, do you know?
It's usually around 12 to 1400 is a typical cohort.
That's what our data says.
Yeah, it's usually 12 to 1400 is a typical cohort. So just wanted to give you some exposure to the idea. And then hopefully get your permission to spend some time to research it, and then bring you back information where you can make a decision from whether we will move forward or not. Okay. Yes.
When are you looking to have this?
Say again.
When are you looking to have?
We wouldn't need to vote on it until probably around February, somewhere in there. So we're looking to do a lot of the work this fall, and just make sure that the board has all the information they need to make an informed decision. And we'll also be including our unions and everybody that as to the need and as to the resources.
So there's not a cost associated with the planning this fall?
Say again?
There's not a cost associated with the planning?
I'm gonna probably come back to you with a contract from the heart,
Uh-huh,
just to go through the process with us.
in February or before?
No, that'll be before February.
Okay.
Yeah, that part. Yeah. Chief Britton, did you have something you want to add?
Chief Moon gave the number 1293.
1293. Thank you.
Thank you. I was in there.
That is smack in the middle of your range.
Any other questions, folks?
Thank
Dr.
you.
Melton, thank you.
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to see everyone.
Okay. I believe what we have next is summer programming report. Let's go.
Come on up.
It's all yours.
Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, superintendent. Good evening, team, family. Today, we are going to provide to you an update, a summary of how summer school went. And I want to start off by publicly thanking Ann Sherwood. She took the lead this year and took care of every single detail along with the amazing coordinators. And it was a major lift in addition to the other work that she's been doing. So thank you very much, Ann, for all of your work and for your leadership. I appreciate that. She is very detail oriented. Anybody who knows Ann, she's going to pay attention to every single detail, and that's exactly what we needed. I do want to say we are so excited. We were excited before summer school started, but then to actually see how everything came together and all of the different opportunities that were provided for kids. It was just really an amazing community event. Want to also thank Supervising Director Chizuka. She has set an amazing foundation and continues to push us forward with being innovative. So without further ado, I'm going to let Ann Sherwood start us off and give you some overview information by the numbers, some highlights, and then Director Stemilakatis is going to share about the K-8 academic programming. That's where we made the most major changes this year. So he's going to provide an overview. I did want to say you have this presentation in your blue folders. What you have in your blue folders is 60 slides that nobody really wanted to make sure nobody wanted people to share for good reason. But we wanted to make sure that you had a summary of each of the different programs so you can reference it later. So you'll see when Director Stemilakatis takes us through the K-8 academic programming, that's replicated. That process, the data that's shared is replicated for every program here so that you can research it, review it, ask questions, see all the amazing highlights. But it definitely took a team, and I know Ann is going to highlight the amazing team, many of whom are represented here. Thank you, ma'am.
This one any taller? I need a stool. Good evening. Thank you for having us present our work this tonight to you. We had a great enrollment this summer. We had 5,768 students in grades pre-K through 12. The average student attendance was 80.8% with all our programs. We had 865 staff members hired for the various programs. And the summer school length was 5 weeks, 5 days a week. And then we do have an extended school year program that was 5 days a week for 6 weeks as mandated by the state. And we had 14 different programs running this summer. Some were purely academic and others were more enrichment oriented, which you'll hear about and you can read about in the 60 slides. Some of our highlights this summer, and certainly we would be here a couple of hours if we highlighted all the great things, but these are just a few of the highlights. We had Mindful U Math this year, which focused on preparation for Algebra 1, and we doubled our enrollment. That program took place at ITC. Typically, we have 100 students. We had almost 250 this year. So that was very exciting, and we had a great staff that was really flexible because a lot of things change when you add more students, but it really was a great summer for them. This year for our elementary and middle schools, in the afternoons, the mornings are academic and the afternoons are enrichment. And we had 170 staff members submit proposals for enrichment this year, which was an increase from 100. The teachers really brought some innovative ideas for the afternoons. And the academic side, increases were made at each grade level and the metrics captured for the K-8 programming. And you'll hear more in detail about that as we go on with our presentation. All of the elementary and middle school students had the opportunity to participate in the iCivics program, which combines social studies and ELA skills and community. There was an increase of 227 middle school students participating in the B. Gonzalez program. Last summer, we had 685, and this summer we had 912. And last but certainly not least, the high school had 1,111 students participate, 1,322 credits earned, and 293 Regents exams. A crescendo of highlights. Behind me, we have the wonderful summer school team, our early childhood and extended school year coordinator, Sandra Burquest. Our elementary schools coordinator, Diane Vitello. Our middle school and Mindfully U coordinator, Terry Haley. Our high school coordinators, January Kelly and Dana Cole. Extended school year coordinator, Latrina Brumfield. Jesse Long, coordinator of B. Gonzalez program, but he is director of athletics and he's at an athletic event this evening. Language at Without Limits, Step to the CL Summer Institute for Language and Culture, our ENL programs. We have Lita Raganese and Christina Crehan. We also had summer arts program. Our fine arts director, Rory Edwards, he's unable to be here tonight, but he did summer arts and intro to marching band basics. And we also had esports and storytelling, and Manami Tezuka was the founder and the coordinator of those programs. So thank you. Those are our highlights. And now I turn it back to Chief Britton.
Highlights are going to continue with the data. We promised that we would bring data. So one of the major shifts that Anne referred to was the programming of the iCivics program, and the superintendent really wanted us to move forward with this because of the success that we had with it in previous years. So we expanded it across the board. We wanted to make sure we did consistent programming and also collected consistent data for the academic piece. So we put some additional pieces in place, and from there, we have data around vocabulary acquisition, and you can see the pre and post assessments within iCivics and some supplemental pieces that we did to capture this data. And then Dreambox, this was a place where a lot of the math work was done. And in this program, in this platform, the Dreambox program adjusts to where students are. So what is so powerful to me about this chart is this reflects the games that students are playing and the levels, games/lessons, because they're highly engaging, the levels at which students are practicing. So it won't adjust up to grade level or up to the next level unless a student is successful at their current grade level. So this shows, the percentage of lessons or gameplay that students were able to do above grade level. So this is our baseline data because we put in some pieces this year to collect, made some shifts. What could we collect across years? So very excited to see this and to see the high percentage of on grade level practice as well as above grade level practice. There's more about Dreambox also and that programming in the packet. Happy to talk more. And then in addition to that, this shows the first or the number of students who were engaged in Dreambox at each of the grade levels. And then below that, the part that's most exciting to me, and thank you, Chief Moon, for your support in helping us pull this in a way that made sense to all of us. What is the average proficiency growth from week 1 to week 5? So we know that's a real short time span. So to see that our students grew in every single grade level, we're very excited about that. We know summer slide can happen, all of those pieces. We know that research shows to show that students not only were able to maintain, but there was growth in every grade level. And we're just super excited about this data and look forward to seeing this continue. Now we're going to get into the academic programming and want to give a shout out again to Principal Vitello and Principal Haley. They led this program. Director Stemilakatis is going to speak to the programming and what that looked like. And again, what he shares is replicated in the packet for every other program. So wanted him to get into some of the specifics. Director Stemilakatis? You want this?
Thank you. So as Chief Brin was saying, our program was new this year, but fairly new because we actually had it at 2 elementary schools before this year, and we tried it out there called iCivics. And just to give you some highlights though with iCivics and math, just to start off with, our K through 5th graders, as you can see the numbers there and how many students were served, and then versus the 6th through 8th graders. And then some of our highlights, of course, that we said was iCivics focusing on social studies and literacy, Dreambox, math, and Mindfully You math as well. Throughout our summer programming, there were many opportunities for success to prepare students for obviously the upcoming school year. It's very, very important to understand that these programs, both in literacy and in math, really prepare students for our future assessments within the school year as they're entering their new grade levels. But on top of that, what's really important is that through this Dreambox math curriculum, as you can see, the curriculum really integrates a lot of different types of formative assessment and personalizes the services for each child based on their individual skills and helps them understand, have a conceptual understanding of critical skills that they need. And so it's definitely very personalized, and that's what makes it unique and wonderful to explore during the summer months. As far as the K through 8 iCivics curriculum that I definitely am well versed in, being the social studies director, I can't speak volumes about this, but even the Superintendent Davis in his first year came into Webster and saw it live in action and recommended that it be placed across in our summer programming, which of course I was ecstatic about. So we jumped to the occasion because it's really important. We can't stress, right? We can't stress how civic participation and civic knowledge for our students. Our scholars are going to be future citizens and future voters, and it's quite important that they understand the society that they live in, right? Take community action in their own communities. And so why civics? Obviously, because when students are exposed to civics, they're more likely, the data shows that they're more likely to complete college and develop those employable skills that are necessary. They're more likely to vote and discuss current issues at home, be confident in public speaking, and of course, volunteer in their communities and really attend to community issues. The other day, I was actually in a kindergarten classroom, and the kindergarten teacher was actually not a summer school teacher, but said that there were two students from the summer program who were asking, when are they going to talk about their community? So, so obviously, in first grade, they're like, when am I going to talk about my community? Because I've been talking about it all summer. So,
Thank you.
so obviously something's catching on.
I think it was the third graders.
Yeah.
I think it was the third graders that hooked me.
Yes, it
When
was
they
the
were-
third graders that you
Right,
worked at.
when
Yes.
they were doing clothing drives for the homeless.
Mhm.
I think that was, and their explanation of it
Sure.
was absolutely wonderful. So that's what got me.
Yeah, because as you can see here in this chart on the screen are the variety of topics that our kindergarten and then first grade through fifth grade was exposed to. As you can see, all the variety of topics range from solving problems together as a community, focusing on our government, whether it be local, state, or national, and then, of course, world issues affecting our world. And then media literacy, which is a new trend, obviously, in social studies education, really focusing on identifying what us adults love to call fake news, right? But actually teaching students how to identify what's fact and what's not. And that's very, very important in a 21st century society that we live in. Just to give you a little bit of example of what that iCivics program explored, there was literature, both fiction and nonfiction, to focus on key literacy skills as aligned to the next generation literacy standards. And of course, each form of text focused on a specific issue. In this case, what you see here on the screen is a third grade example about clean air to share, which obviously focused on the environment and environmental issues. And then, of course, we also had the iCivics program in our middle school this year, and that was also new. And we explored in middle school these key issues here that you see on the screen that were relevant to the students, and the students got to choose which issues they wanted to focus on, whether it be civil rights, women's rights, gender rights, homelessness, and fair housing. And obviously, as we all know here, our community is faced with all these issues as well. So it's quite relevant for all of our students to explore. Through that process, they did research and they took civic action. Here you see a middle school example of a student writing to the mayor and then taking civic action and creating a civic action piece related to homelessness and what they can do. So addressing the issue with political officials and then taking their civic action based on the research, similar to what the superintendent saw in third grade, but actually taking it to a more middle school level here. So as you can see, our students not only researched and read, but really took it to that next level. And of course, here are some student testimonials from our math and iCivics programming.
A question about the Somali class. Was that something that a teacher proposed, or was that an enrichment class since it was the end of the day that a teacher was
So-
one of the proposals?
You said the Somali class?
Mhm.
It was a part of the steps to the seal. Yeah.
So, oh, okay, great, fantastic. Uh-huh.
So as you can see, obviously, based on the testimonials here, the students definitely had a great time, really found the materials relevant. And the impact here is quite important to say is that as far as eighth graders showed a decrease in zeros and ones and an increase in twos, threes, and fours using algebra regions type questions in math. In the iCivics program, we went from pre and post testing from 3.0 to 3.8, heading towards 4.0, and in some schools 4.2, and you'll see that in the detailed information in your folders, more so than in the slides here in front of you. And I can't stress that we know that in the science of reading, key vocabulary acquisition knowledge is extremely important. If they don't know their knowledge, then they're not able, the research shows that they're more able to understand and comprehend what they're reading, what students are reading. And so the more vocabulary we know, especially that tier 1 vocabulary, the better you are. So I think as any program, the teachers are actually eager to dive into it again next summer because they want to dive into it even a little bit more. It was their first year doing it. So they're pretty excited about that.
So we just wanted to end, and every section, every program ends with testimonials, not just students, but staff testimonials, and then also photographs or some specific examples. You know, that's what matters the most. What's the impact on our students? And then how does staff feel about implementing and leading this? Because that's also how we'll continue to staff it. So that was most important to us. We can show you the numbers in 5 weeks. There's only, you know, we know growth, we know data doesn't always capture the impact that it has and the opportunities that were provided for our kiddos, but the attendance is so exciting as well as the testimonial. So hope you'll take some time to look at those. Yes, ma'am.
So, you mentioned that there was an increase in the number of proposals that were submitted. So do those, proposals roll over to the next year? Do you have to submit them again? What happens to the ones that were not selected this year? Do they have the opportunity to come back again?
You do have to resubmit. I'm gonna let Ann give more details or Manami.
Believe it or not, we hired every single person who submitted a proposal. That's how much our enrollment warranted. So it was nice, but we do ask them to resubmit. Sometimes they do something one year, like jewelry making, and then they want to do something, then they want to do jewelry instead of a store. So they're always kind of adding on to what they wish to do.
There is a process to review those proposals. There's a team that does that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Chief Pachenko?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So before you, we have a couple of contracts for board approval. The first one is through the Office of Human Resources. And this is to renew an agreement with Insight Education to partner with the district to develop and implement a training program for new and continuing mentors and mentees while supporting and building the capacity of district leaders for long-term sustainability through June of 25. This is an amount not to exceed $23,000, and this is coming out of the general fund budget. Next contracts are with student support. The first is to renew an agreement with 100 Black Men of Syracuse to mentor middle school and high school students in grades 7 through 12 at PSLA, Nottingham, Ed Smith, Lincoln, and Syracuse STEM at Blodgett. And this is for an amount not to exceed $249,000 through June of 25. And this is coming out of the A budget and also the F budget, the ELT grant for Lincoln Middle School.
Mike, I had one question on that.
Yes.
Chief, sorry. It said one of the reasons that it was increasing was more students and more buildings, I believe. Do you happen to know what how much the increase was? Population that we're serving?
I don't know the number of students, Jerry, 60 more students.
Thank you.
The next agreement is to renew an agreement with Willie Dowdell to mentor and support students served in our community-based learning centers and collaborate with high schools to provide preventative services and counseling students through June of 2025. This is not to exceed $50,000, and this is coming out of our Stronger Connections grant. Next is the resolution for the Institute Technology Stadium project. This resolution, 04-22-204, which was the Institute Technology Stadium, was approved by the District Board of Education on April 6, 2022. And since this resolution was approved, the cost have, at $9 million, the cost projection has increased. So we're looking for the sum of additional $5 million be allocated for this project for a total cost not to exceed $14 million. And this will be provided by a combination of capital fund balance, operating funds, and serial bonds. In the amount of time required, consistent with our capital project. And then the further resolved is that the Board of Education will commit $5 million of unassigned general fund balance for the construction of the stadium, and these funds cannot be used for any purpose other than that directed above. So in essence, we're moving $5 million of unallocated into committed. That is the plan to use this at this point in time.
Chief Pashchenko, can I ask a quick question?
Certainly.
Because this is a capital improvement project, is this, after we spend these funds, is this the kind of thing where we get 90% back from the state or not?
Yes and no. There are certain things with this project that will get reimbursement for us, but there are going to be some components of this project that will not entail it. There's certain things like sometimes the stadium seating. So there's certain components of it that will, some of it will not. I hope between maybe 70% of this will be reimbursable at the 98% amount.
Okay.
And then we have our monthly financials. Really quickly, you have those financials in front of you and the PowerPoint. I won't spend a lot of time going through it. We're really just in the beginning of the school year. Just some highlights. We've expended $39 million to date, and we've received $19 million of revenue. So there's about a $20 million delta between the revenue and expenses. We are anticipating at the end of September, approximately $48 million of revenue that will be coming in. So that'll put us on the plus side of revenue greater than expenses. In terms of salaries, they're about $1.6 million more this year than last year, but they are on budget. So we are right where we want to be. Benefits, they're about $1.7 million more than budgeted. That's because we've had some high cost claims that have trickled in over the last couple of months. Again, we plan these out throughout the course of the year. It just turns out that this time it's kind of hit us right at the beginning. So we're a little bit behind, but we'll keep track of that as we move along through the year. Overall, we're about $1 million above budget from where we plan to be spending at this point in time. But again, that's based upon the high cost claims that we got there. In terms of cash, we have $180 million of cash on hand, so there will be no borrowing this coming school year. So we are looking in good shape with that. Any questions? Okay. Then we get to the claims auditor report for this for this past month. We had a little bit of a dip in terms of the number of claims with packet error. Again, these are claims for things that, at the end of the school year, people are, well, I have this money to spend, and people are spending some money a little bit quicker and not following procedures. So there were some a little bit more errors on the part of those. But we're going to continue to work with people and the transition to our new system to bring that down. And that's it for me.
LCB?
The JSCB is in the process of awarding 2 RFPs. A committee is being formed, and that's for the project manager and the financial plan. So that's it'll meet this October, hopefully have those awarded, and we'll keep moving with the process. That's it so far. Yep. One step at a time. Thank you.
So the board verbal reports, does anyone have anything they'd like to report?
Just been busy attending community events and athletic events throughout the district, and we've enjoyed being able to watch our students participate.
I'll second that.
We're having really just interesting discussions in the uniform, considering uniforms, the committee that is meeting monthly. So I think that at the end of the year, we'll have more information is going to be presented to the board. Mary?
I have nothing. Audit committee was canceled on Friday, so nothing to report from there.
So, because I think this needs to be done publicly, I have a quick question for you ladies in terms of the, when we're looking at the budget status highlights, is it helpful to you ladies that the comparison to last year's numbers? Because I feel like that trips me up a little bit because no matter what, our budget is going to increase annually, even if we're not increasing services whatsoever, just because of inflation. And to me, it would be more helpful to have a comparison to plan rather than to previous year. But I don't know if that's just me and the way that I understand things, or if that's
So the comparison to prior year gives you a metric for where inflation is and how much more we're spending on programs year over year. It would be difficult, I believe, for Chief Panchenko to give us to plan because we plan for the whole budget year. We don't
Okay.
do a monthly budget. And so it's a lot of what you would see would be timing. And so that's where that metric of looking at where we are versus last year is sort of valuable in my mind.
okay. So, I mean, I kind of defer to your opinion. It's the money stuff is always hard for me. I'm always trying to look for an easier way to understand it. Did you guys have any opinions on?
I'm good. No, we'll just ask the chief.
If that's it, this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, if I can't understand something, I'll figure out how to ask my neighbor.